Hello, BookTube community, and welcome to another installment of Erin's Book Club. Sorry about the noise. There's a fellow out there weed eating that isn't on my schedule, the nerve. So we'll just have to talk through the noise. So today I have a book review to do, and it's a book that I really enjoyed. This is The Princess Bride by William Goldman. Now, I don't know how many of you have seen the movie, but the first thing I've got to say is this is the first book that I've read where the movie actually follows pretty close to the actual book. Like, there were specific lines throughout most of the book that were actually used in the movie, which I haven't seen that happen before. And I really, really enjoyed it. Now, those of you that haven't read The Princess Bride, it's basically a adventure story. I don't know if you'd call it a mid-range. It's written with a lot of, I don't know, ridicule or angst, but it's something that a child would enjoy. But, like, I enjoyed it also, and I know adults that have enjoyed the story. But it's about a princess, well, not a princess, she's a farm girl that ends up being really pretty, and she tries to marry the farmhand after he does a lot of things for her, and they go on an adventure, and through a lot of obstacles that's not allowing true love to win. And it's written by a different fellow, I think. This one, the William Goldman, actually just condensed the book. Kind of, he made it sound like it was kind of like Moby Dick, where there were so many description words that the actual story wasn't enjoyable. And I have to say that I think he really did an awesome job condensing the book. And not only does he condense the book, he also puts in his 2 cents when he takes chapters out and that kind of thing, and explains why he takes chapters out, which was great. But there's an underlying sadness through the book. I mean, the book has 1,800 different subtle jokes that only the adults in the group will enjoy and that kind of thing, but there's a sadness, there's a depression there, because you're open up in this book with this guy remembering his childhood book different than what it really was, and him discovering that the book was actually a lot longer, and that his father, who was barely literate, had just picked the best terms out of the book and read them. But he ends up explaining how his life is not what he wanted it to be. He married a woman that he actually doesn't, I don't think, loved or ever did love. And she's also very cold and very just empty. And then the son is a spoiled, rotten fat boy, and you really get a sense of how he feels as though he misses the life he could have had, and how well, your tail was in the way, and how he feels as though maybe things could have gotten better, and how the whole gist of the book was the fact that, you know what, life isn't fair, and maybe story tales and happy endings don't always happen, which kind of rings a chord with me, because a lot of times I find the endings in books are far too happy to suit the tone of the book. And the story in the book is just so ridiculous. Like, it has the makings to be a real somber, real tragic kind of story, like Star-Crossed Lovers kind of thing. But, like, even death doesn't interfere with this book. The hero can overcome death, and the adventures that they have, where he should have been killed, just doesn't happen. And it's kind of written in an old style writing too. Like, the authors or the the characters speak in a very polite, very proper language. Even when they're, like, when the one guy was being tortured, like, talking in a very polite, proper language. It was full of adventure through the whole thing. Sorry, Pilgrim wants to put her opinion in. I bet you love that view. Full of adventure through the whole thing. I can't tell you how many times that my alarm went off and said you need to go to bed today, or bed tonight, to function tomorrow, and I just was like, I don't really want to go to bed. And that was very refreshing. I really enjoyed that. The ending I enjoyed, not because of the way it ended, but because the author actually put his 2 cents in. So he wrote down the original author's ending, where everybody kind of lived happily ever after, and um, let's see here. Let's see here. Okay, so he says, they looked at him, and oh my Wesley, so do I. And they lived happily ever after. Okay? Wow, I said. He looked at me. You're not pleased? No, no, it's just, it came so quick, the ending. It surprised me. I thought there'd be a little more, is all. I mean, was the pirate ship waiting, or was that just a rumor like it said? Complained to Mr. Morganson, and they lived happily ever after is how it ends, says my father. The truth was, my father was fibbing. I spent my whole life thinking it just ended up that way until I did this abridgment, and then I glanced at the last page, and this is how Morgenstein ends it. Okay? So here's the real ending of the author. It says, Buttercup looked at him. Oh my Wesley, so do I. From behind them, suddenly closer than they imagined they could hear the roar of Humperdinck. Stop them! Cut them off! They were admittedly startled, but there was no reason for worry. They were on the fastest horses in the kingdom, and the lead was already theirs. However, this was before Indigo's wound reopened and Wesley relapsed into death, just so you know. And Frizik took the wrong turn, and Buttercup's horse threw a shoe, and the night before behind them was filled with the ascending sound of pursuit. So that's kind of the gist of the whole story. Everything happens, and then something gets thrown in their way that they need to overcome. And there's a kind of language to it that's I don't know how to say it polite. So here's the author that did the abridgment, put his 2 cents in. He says that's Morgenstein's ending, a lady or the tiger type effect. This was before the lady or the tiger, remember. Now he was a satirist, so he left it that way. My father was, I guess, I realized too late, a romantic, so he ended it another way. Well, I'm an abridger, so I'm ending it to a few ideas of my own. Did they make it? Was the pirate ship there? You can answer that for yourself, but for me, I say yes it was, and yes, they got away, and got their strength back, and had lots of adventures, and more than their share of laughs. But that doesn't mean, I think, that they had a happy ending, either. Because in my opinion, anyway, they squabbled a lot, and Buttercup lost her looks eventually, and one day Physic lost a fight, some hot-shot kid whipped Indigo with a sword, and Wesley was never able to really sleep sound because of Humperdinck maybe being on the trail. I'm not trying to make this a downer. I understand. I mean, I really do think that love is the best thing in the world except for cough drops. But I also have to say, for the umpty-umpth time, that life isn't fair. It just is fairer than death, and that's all. And that's the gist of the book, is no matter what, the hero won. And I think that's what he was complaining about, was that not all the time does the hero win. And sometimes, in real life, life sucks. And sometimes you struggle and get nowhere. But that doesn't mean it's not worth it. And I think that's the whole gist of the book. And that kind of language was throughout the entire book. I think anybody who has even a young family should all sit down and read a chapter a day of this together as a family. I think it's a great book to read to bring a family closer together. I enjoyed it. I think anybody who tried it would enjoy it. It's something that I'm never going to get rid of. And just a really good book. So that's all I've got to say about The Princess Bride. I'm sorry I rambled on a bit, but I really thoroughly enjoyed the book. I'm also sorry for my cat's input. Apparently they want to be part of the video as well. So now I've just got to read another chapter of my dressage book, and then I am going to read Stephen King's Cujo. I've had the book for years and haven't actually read it, which makes me a little embarrassed, but very excited about that. Thanks very much, guys. You have a great day.